Okay, so a couple paper pieces that I've been playing with. I've got this stories, traumas going through my mind of when I was a child. And I told this story that I'm going to tell here for this video just the other night to my ex-husband, who actually, this March, that I actually would have known that man for 26 years, this coming March. So, and it's the first time that he claims to have ever heard the story. I know I've blocked a lot of memories of my childhood out, because it's been repeated trauma after trauma after trauma, with good stuff and trauma. But this is hard for me to want to talk about, because it's just a hard one to want to talk about. When I was 13, my father, basically, my dad, in my eyes at 13, tried to kill me. And at this point, at being 13, I'd already gone through other traumas that made me feel that he was attempting to try and kill me. I'm gonna maybe tell a little bit about his history before I get into the stories, and then a little bit of the stories, or at least this particular one, of when I was 13 story. Okay, so going back to his childhood first, he was born in 1950, and he stayed with his original mom until he was 7, and then given up for adoption. And then the family that came in to adopt a bunch of children to use them for slaves to run the farm, he was chosen. He was one of the chosen ones to go to this farm and be used as a child slave. He had 2 sisters, Lori and Linda. Linda committed suicide because she had gotten schizophrenic symptoms and decided one day it would be a good idea to drink a bottle of bleach and take some pills and be done with herself. My Auntie Lori, she's still alive and doing as well as she can. Then he had a brother, Roy, which on my birthday a couple years ago, he was killed in the forest. A tree hit him in the head. He actually drove to the nearby hospital, explained to them what happened, collapsed. They sent him to the city hospital, and he died of other complications and strokes and such due to the trauma in the head from the tree hitting him. But he actually drove to the hospital before collapsing. So that's kind of an amazing story. But that's my dad's brother, one of the chosen ones, in the orphanage. And so they were used as child slaves and beaten severely. Stories of my Auntie Lori eating her own puke because the mother would make a great big breakfast. Like, okay, you're 4 years old and you're supposed to eat oatmeal, an orange, milk, eggs, toast, bacon, the whole bit. Possible more, who knows, but that's average at 4. And if you did not eat it all, you were beaten. So my Auntie Lori would eat it all, but be barfing it back up into her bowl, and so scared that she would eat it. Stories that my dad has told is that they would run the farm, 8, 10, 12 years old, out in the field, waiting for the grain truck to fill up. If you or your brother falls asleep, you were pulled out of the truck and stomped on by a 285-pound man. If you did not eat your whole apple at that slavery farm, including right down to the seeds, the whole fucking thing, you were beaten. If you slit a potato in the garden as an 8-year-old kid, you were beaten. These are just some things that happen to my father and the children that lived there in the 50s and into the 60s. Most of them ran away by the time they were 15, 16. Okay, so these are the kind of stories that I heard repeatedly over and over. Different types of things. Like my Uncle Roy, when little boys, or even when big boys, have little urine stains or poo stains in their underwear, are girls. But my Uncle Roy, who's now deceased, he'd have poo stains in his underwear, and the bitch shit in a jar, or in a fucking bowl, or whatever the hell bowl, waited for the 7-year-old boy to come home so she could take her feces and rub it all over the child's face and beat him. And then when the father came home, he could beat him again. Because he was warned that if he had poo stains in his underwear again, So this is the kind of abuse that my father and the children went through there. Then, when I was raised, I was told, because there was abuse, but it was done differently. But I was always compared to his abuse, the stuff that my father would do to me or my mother or my brother to keep us in fear and terror. It was he drank, okay. But the things that he would do to keep us in line would involve a lot of verbal abuse and physical abuse, especially if there was booze involved. You see, okay, my father ended up being a concrete contractor, so he ran his own business. And very rough, tough kind of individual because of the way he was raised. People didn't want to fuck around with that kind of character anyways. Always some kind of violence would be involved if you were involved in my dad's life, basically. And so I grew up thinking it was normal. Don't tell, keep the secrets of the family, because you could be taken away and then you never see your mom and dad again. And it could be worse. You could be taken away and put into foster home where they rape you instead, and I don't mean to do these kinds of things. All the excuses is a narcissist type of personality with possible sociopaths, borderline difficulties there. There's a few things there. But whenever he would drink, it would bring out the good and the bad guy. The good guy would of course, reel you in to get you on his side. But then the bad guy would like punish you or treat you like shit or whatever. But when the physical stuff came about, you know, telling your mother about things that have happened while she wasn't there and she was at work could get her into trouble, possibly knives thrown at her feet, sticking through the kitchen floor, instead of hitting her feet, come close, nicked her a few times to kind of like keep her in line, you know, throwing knives at her fucking feet in the kitchen on the floor was like a normal thing if Dad was drinking for a while. And then that stopped, you know, of course, but as you grow up, because then your kids start doing it, and it's like, oh, maybe, well, we shouldn't throw knives on the floor like that, you know, like, it's just really hard for me to talk, and I'm just getting shit out of my fucking brain as I go with it to get to the story of when I was 13. Maybe I'll just go with that then now. Okay, so my dad, concrete contractor guy, so he made good money. He hired people to help with the business, stuff like this, and so like there would always be hired men over drinking and like maybe their girlfriends and this kind of stuff, and there was always like, especially in the summertime. In the winter there was no booze because he didn't work. It was a seasonal job, so it was to be like all of a sudden he would just shut down his alcoholism, to shut it down, and became like a seasonal alcoholic. When he was working, times were good, time to party on down, you know. So just throwing that in there because it brings me to this story. So 13. Okay, so it's dark outside. We have a pool that's one of those metal ones that goes, it's above ground. But it was nice, you know, it was a nice big metal one and everything. So we had a pool out back. I grew up on an acreage out of the city and stuff. And so it was all kind of nicely set up and everything. He used to drink with his buddies in the back. Like, or whatever, the hired men, his buddies, whatever. And when it was summertime, you know, they'd have the stereo cranked up out there or whatever by the pool, and it would be lights out there, but you know, you need an extension cord to plug in the lights and this kind of stuff. So anyways, that's kind of the atmosphere first. And then, okay, so he's partying it on up. He needs a extension cord to have over by the pool area for lights or the music or both or whatever it is. But he comes into the house. This is like flashback memory kind of stuff for me because I did block some of this out of where it went to. Is this, but it's in my mind. I just kind of don't think about it every day. When your father comes out of his bedroom with a 22, with the clip, puts it into the gun, and grabs me by the back of the fucking head and says, "You got 15 minutes to find that fucking extension cord so that I can have my buddies out fucking back." Slams my fucking head up against the door. Puts the gun up against my fucking head. Says, "You got 15 minutes to live, fucking bitch. Find that fucking extension cord. Or else." And then he fucking tosses my head. I fucking ran out. He comes outside with the gun. I went, because it was dark, there was no light outside, but I ran to where it was dark and hid right nearby. Like, he couldn't see me, it was in the dark. And all of a sudden, "I'm fucking warning you, bitch. You got 15 minutes to fucking live. Find that fucking extension cord. Blows off the fucking gun. Goes inside the house. I kind of was creeping around back, like, I thought, well, I better find the fucking extension cord, because if he finds me, this is not going to be good. So, I come into the house. He's standing, just staggering drunk there's a couple stairs that when you come in the porch, there's a couple stairs that go up, and then it goes up into the hallway of the house. And the bathroom's right there at the first part of the hallway. Well, he was standing in the doorway with the gun and putting more shells in the clip. And so he saw me though, and I started moving stuff around, like, oh, I think I found it, or I can find it, or And as he reloaded up the gun, and I ended up running, because I'm watching him reloading the gun, and I thought, this is so. I'm 13, and so I start running, and it's dark, but I'm running towards the garage, and the light is on, and the doors are wide open, so the light is kind of shining out of the garage. And as I'm running towards the garage, which must be, like, for city blocks, a good, like, half a city block, depending on how long the block is, but maybe 2 city blocks. I'm running towards the garage as he is running out of the house, yelling, "You got 15 minutes to fucking live, bitch!" Boom, he does it again. And so, instead of running towards the light of the garage, I thought, well, I'm not going to be like just some kind of fucking target running right for the light where he can see me. I went around, and at the time we had these people from the city that had horses on our land, and would rent part of the land to keep their horses there. And so there was these great big huge round bales that they had that year. And I jumped in the middle of them. I got on top and I jumped into the middle of them, because I'm thinking, it would take an awful lot for the bullet to go through the bales of like how thick they were. It was a great big huge pile, and because like a shed size big, like all around, it's this huge fucking pile. Anyways, like I'm in the dark. I'm 13. I get into these bales, and I'm hiding. And he also had, because of his kind of line of work, he would have great big or gravel truck, like trucks to haul away the broken up concrete when they did a replacement job and stuff. And at the time he had this great big huge Fargo truck, and it would have like a spotlight. All of a sudden I hear that beast fire up, and I thought he's fucking crazy enough that he'll probably ram the fucking bales, if he thinks that I'm in here, So I started panicking as I knew the big truck was firing up, and with the spotlight and shit. And I thought maybe I should just go surrender, and I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. Like, Mom's at work. Nobody knows that this is happening. My brother's hearing impaired, so he can't hear what's happening, and he was probably in bed sleeping. So, anyways, I got out of the bales at some point, saw that he was going to turn around, like, I could see the spotlight with the truck, so I could see whereabouts he was, and he was going around, so he had to go around this great big group of trees, the path that he was taking to go around, and then I thought he's probably going to go look for me, thinking I'm out in the fucking trees, and sure enough, probably did. And then, as time went on, I was looking for the damn extension cord. Well, I had time, and he wasn't around, so that if I could find it, I could just leave it there and, like, disappear and go to sleep in the trees or some fucking thing. But no, I couldn't find it, and as he turned, he had the spotlight, he caught me in the yard, saw my shadow or something, outwitted me or something. And anyways, the next thing I know is I'm standing in the garage where the light is. He holds a gun up to my head again, I could smell because it had been fired, so I could smell the power of this fucking bullshit going on. And he's holding the gun to my head again. It was my head up like this in the back, he's holding, and my feet are up off the cement, and I had no shoes on because it was in the middle of the night, I was sleeping until this point of an extension cord. So, I'm on the concrete floor of the garage, but now my feet are up off the ground, and like I'm choking off, because he's holding my head, and he's got me up off the ground, and he's got the fucking gun up at my throat. And then he throws me down. And I remember I landed down and I got up quickly because my adrenaline was going. But I was quite wounded, couldn't breathe very well. Got up and I fucking took off. I ran. And I don't know if it was because he was so goddamn drunk or like why. But I remember being thrown down and I fucking ran. And I ran back to the house and went in and I started, like it was like something was guiding me what to do because I was out of my mind. And I started removing all these jackets that were on in the porch on a hooks. And as I was removing the jackets, well, there's the fucking extension cord that he's been looking for. So I take it, I throw it down onto the porch, like where I know that he can see it. I run through the front, go around by the pool area, told whoever saw me running that he did not see me running, and they didn't even know what the fuck was going on. So there was music playing, but there was no lights, but they didn't hear the gun go off or nothing like that. So like, come on, humans. But anyway, so I ran by the humans and they were there and went and fucking hid. And, waited I basically fell asleep out there for a while, but out in the trees. It was, late summer. It was kind of cold outside, but I was okay. I felt okay, like at least I was safe. Then when I saw the lights coming up the lane, we had a 1/4 lane, I knew it would be my mom. I could see lights coming up the lane, and she'd get shift work, so sometimes she'd work in the morning, sometimes she'd work till midnight, sometimes it was midnight till 7 in the morning or whatever, but it was always shift work, so when she was gone, it was like he'd lose his mind faster, hey? And these kinds of things would happen. So, I learned that it was normal kind of behavior. I didn't know any different, like, than these kinds of things. And, I'm not sure how this story, the next part goes, fits together, but they could probably tell the change in my attitude at the school. I mean, your father just tried to kill you, yada, 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 or threatened to kill you. And there would have been change in my personality, change in my attitude, change in everything, probably. So I remember some kind of authority, some kind of social worker or something, got involved, whether that be because I told a friend, which I don't remember, or if it was just the change in my attitude, or if it was both, but parts of that story, sitting in a room and kind of telling certain things that happened. The next thing you know, I'm at home and I was told, you don't be telling fucking people that shit, blah, 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 blah. And I had never told my mom that had happened because I was afraid that if I told that something bad would happen to her, you're a little kid. And when you did tell her things and she would get angry and upset and, it would just get worse. So I actually never even told my mom about that. But parts and bits of that, I know fuzzy details more about that part, is because I was told, tell them that you were lying and yada yada. So I had to go and come up with a story and tell them that I was lying about all the stuff that I had told them. And to be honest, I don't remember what I had told them, but whatever traumas, there was this so many bizarre events that took place throughout my childhood. And I've done a lot of healing, a lot of soul figuring. That's probably what brought me into being an abstract spiritualism artist. I'm going to push pause for a moment. Okay, so that's just one of many stories that I could tell. I think I'll just leave it at when I was 13 for now.